Hey friends, the Seth Cross here, and today I'm going to be doing something that I really haven't done before. This is going to be the first part of a few videos where we go through all of the commanders from the Last Airbender set and pretty much put them into a tier list. And the reason why this is just the first part is because there are simply so many legendary creatures. I want to say that there's like 65 or something just from the Avatar set, and then there's the Avatar Eternal set. So we're not going to do the Eternal sets, we're just going to do the Avatar set. Just because together there's like over 100, it's like 115 or something. It's crazy the amount of legendary creatures that we're getting. Before we get started, of course, remember to like, comment, subscribe. That helps with the channel and helps me put out more content like this. And of course, a couple of disclaimers. One, I'm a commander only player, so these cards are going to be looked at as if they're being thought of only for commanders. So if it's going to be broken in standard, modern, legacy, I don't know. I have no real point of being able to talk about that. This is mostly going to be based around how I play the game. So stacks effects or like heavy hand targeting effects like discard effects probably not going to really make it too much into like the higher tiers, whereas stuff like graveyard stuff or what have you is going to be kind of cool for me. It's also sometimes about the characters, so it is what it is. The reason why this is again a part one, or what we're going to be doing in the part one, is everything in the A's and B's. The reason I was originally only going to do the A's just because Avatar, Aang, Appa, Azula, those are four like major characters slash keywords that are going to appear throughout this entire thing. So I figured we'd just get the A's out of the way, but then there was only 8, so I added in the B's because there's 2 B's. And without further ado, let's get started. The very, very, very first one, we're going to go in alphabetical order because we're doing A through B. But the very, very first one is going to be Aang at the Crossroads. So Aang at the Crossroads is a Bant commander. It is 2 green, white, and blue. It's a human avatar ally. You're going to see a lot of that. It's a flying 3/3. When it enters the battlefield, look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may put a creature card with mana value 4 or less from among them onto the battlefield. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Whenever another creature you control leaves the battlefield, transform Aang at the beginning of the next upkeep. And then just to cover everything, the other side, he is colorless, 4/4 flying. Land creatures you control have vigilance at the beginning of combat on your turn. Earthbend 2. Earthbending is putting counters on 2 lands, making them into creatures, and then if they die or exile, they just return to the battlefield. No longer as a creature, but they do enter tapped. Right off the bat, this is like probably one of the more cool cards of the set. It's Bant land stuff, kind of, sorta. You are looking for other legendary, not other legendary creatures, but other creatures so that they can leave the battlefield. It's important to say or note that it does say leaving the battlefield. So the airbending, which allows you to bounce cards back to your hand, that will help transform Aang. So that's kind of interesting synergy if you want to look at it that way. I kind of already have a deck with Bant and putting things down and picking them back up. It is my Amazing Spider-Man deck, so I don't personally think I'm going to play this Aang. It is definitely a cool build. I can't think of it going into my Spider-Man deck, so it's definitely not going to go into the 99. It's probably going to wind up being an interesting, but not for me, which is weird that it's so far down on the list because it's a pretty cool card. I think if I didn't have that Spider-Man deck, I would build it. So that kind of comes into play. But yeah, ultimately, I do think that this is a cool card, but is ultimately interesting, but not for me, which is a weird way to start this. For our next one, we're going to have a different kind of Aang, because like I said, there's going to be lots of Aangs, Azulas, and avatars. This is Aang, Swift Savior. This is 1 white and blue. This is again a human avatar ally. I'm sure all of his cards are going to be that way. This is a flash flying 2/3, and when he enters, airbend up to 1 other target creature or spell. Oh, I didn't know you could airbend spells. That's cool. You exile it, and when it's exiled, its owner may cast it for 2 rather than paying its mana cost. And then if you waterbend 8, waterbend basically saying you can tap artifacts or creatures in order to help pay for it, you can transform Aang into his other side, which is again colorless. Aang and La, Ocean's Fury. This is a 5/5 reach trample. Whenever it attacks, put a 1/1 counter on each tapped creature you control. Ooh, that's very different. So in Azorius, kind of aggressive deck. It's still got a little bit of the flicker stuff with the airbending, the spells or creatures. I do like the fact that you could flash it in and essentially exile somebody's spell. They can cast it if they want for the 2 mana. but does it does mean that they may not get it now, especially if they're like pumping all their mana into like a big X spell. It may just be that they don't get to play that spell this turn. And another thing that I just thought of while I was looking at this is that you can, if somebody is trying to counter your spell, instead of necessarily exiling their counter spell, like if it's a what Davin's Veto, I think is uncounterable. If it's something like that, you can actually exile your own spell and then cast it for the two later on. So it's kind of a way around like uncounterable counter spells. So that's kind of cool. Um, and then the water bend and the ability on the other side, where it's putting the 1/1 counter onto all of the on each tap creature with the water bending. That's a pretty cool kind of strategy. You flash it in on somebody else's turn. You have enough creatures slash artifacts to water bend it. Then you can attack with Aang and La and put 1/1 counters. It's kind of a slow build though, because you're tapping those creatures, attacking. Oh, actually, you can waterbend it and then attack with everything. Like if you can waterbend it and then find a way to either untap or waterbend it before it becomes your turn. Then everything's untapped. You could attack, right? Because it is an attack trigger. Whenever they attack, put a one on each. Yeah, so you just don't have a lot of vigilance creatures. Okay. So that's actually not that bad. And white and blue do have quite a bit of +1/+1 counter synergy. There's proliferate really well in blue, and then there's +1/+1 counters in white and white blue together. I mean, it's gonna happen. I do actually like this one a lot. I don't think I have anything that it would go in the 99 of right now. It definitely looks cool. I don't know if I would build this, but I'm not against building it. Let me put it like that. So we're gonna actually slot this one into looks cool, might build. Because I think I might build this eventually. I'm not gonna be looking for it for singles or anything like that, but I could definitely see myself enjoying the kind of gameplay that it provides. And then for our third one, this is gonna be our first uncommon that we're gonna look at. This is Aang the Last Airbender, costs 3 and a white. This is again a human avatar ally. It does not transform. It's the first one not to. Is a 3/2 flyer, and when it enters, airbend up to one other target non-land permanent. Ah, so the airbending targets are always going to be different. Interesting. I didn't know. I did not know that. I did not look at like the whole set as it was coming out, so it's going to be interesting to see kind of like some of my first reactions to this. Exile a non-land permanent and then be able to play it twice. Enter the battlefield effects, or just getting rid of a permanent that might be stopping you from winning the game, something like that. And then the last ability is whenever you cast a lesson spell and gains lifelink until end of turn. I don't know how many lessons are in the set itself, lesson being a mechanic from the original Strixhaven set. Uh, Kind of interesting that they're bringing it back because I don't think it was super impactful in the the Strixhaven set, at least not for commander players. For standard and other sets or other formats, it may have been, but really the commander because you don't get to really play things from exile and commander like outside of your deck. Um, like cards you own but aren't in your deck. That doesn't like wish spells don't really work in commander. I don't think they really had an impact. I would have to look through and see how many lesson cards are in mono white in order to know if this is going to be a really cool, interesting card. Because they are bringing lessons back, I imagine that there is a commander somewhere in the set. I think temporarily, or at least for now, I'm going to put this in goes in the 99. I'm sure there's a deck that does want to use this. But I can't think of anything particularly that I would want to play this in. But I do think it. So it's either going to be goes in the 99 overall, or it's going to be an interesting, but not for me. So I'll make a note of this, and if we find out that there is nothing interesting enough for me to play this in, it'll get bumped down. But for right now, let's just be more optimistic than not, and we will slot this up into goes in the 99. And we have our first Appa card. This is Appa Loyal Sky Basin for 4 white white. This is a Bison ally. And of course, that's another thing to note about the set. They did bring the ally creature type back, which should be interesting. We had that very popular in Zendikar. This is an uncommon flying 4/4. Whenever it enters or attacks, choose one target creature you control gains flying until end of turn because they're carrying, or Appa is carrying them on their back. Or airbend another non-land permanent you control. So it's versatile. I like the fact that it does give a creature you control flying. I don't think necessarily as a commander it's all that great. It would be a mono white 6 drop that is really just a 4/4 flyer that might give something else flying. I can't think of anything super crazy that you're gonna do with that. If anything, Airbend another target permanent you control. So there's a little bit of like kind of flicker-ish, like entering the battlefield style effects that you could be playing with that. So I do think this will go in the 99 of decks. Again, I have my Spider-Man deck. I could see this effect doing okay there, where I exile a big non-land permanent, legendary creature, and then I have it enter for 2 instead of like Zatalba, for instance, costs what 8 or whatever. Uh, I wouldn't want to I would cast it for 2 instead of 8 if like I was gonna board wipe or something, so I'd board wipe and then Appa would die, but blah blah blah. But again, it's a 6 drop, so I don't really know. But it might be something for that. I'm gonna slot it into goes in the 99 just in case. And again, I have to believe that with airbending and stuff that's going to, because that's what this is. That's gonna come into play in some other deck, and I don't know everything I don't know. So we're gonna do little goes in the 99. And rolling right into our second Appa, this is Appa Steadfast Guardian for 2 white white. This is again by an ally. This one, however, is mythic rare. This is a flash flying 3/4. When it enters airbend any number of other target non-land permanents you control. Ooh, whenever you cast a spell from exile, create a 1/1 white ally creature token. So this is definitely going to go in the 99 of a lot of decks. I don't know necessarily how crazy it would be as a commander on its own. I do see some strategies to this where like it's just mono white, like playing things from exile, like you're airbending pretty much all the time. However, like Jeskai decks, Gwen Stacy, for instance, that just came out for the Spider-Man set, cares about casting things from exile and has white in it, along with like blue and red, which red has a lot of like play from exile effects, and then blue can kind of do that a little bit too. Edgin from the D&D set could do blue red foretell stuff. So there's definitely this is definitely going to be played in the 99 of some deck. I did just get a Gwen, so this could very much find a spot somewhere in that deck. Just for the tokens, like that super just like upside of like, and I love again the flash way of you could flash this in response to a board wipe, be able to recast all your things for super cheap, and you won't get the tokens then because it'll Appa would be dead. But let's say you could recur or something like that, then you're kind of just setting it up and recovering from a board wipe very quickly and very well. And then on top of everything, the fact that the tokens are ally creature tokens, if you have an ally reliant strategy, actually, you know what? I'm gonna say I don't think I personally will build this anytime soon. But this is something that I could see myself having a lot of fun with. There's a lot of mono white commanders out there that I think like, man, this would be kind of cool. I kind of wish I would build this, and sometimes it's just hard to kind of like to find the time and the mental patience or the attention span to do that. So I'm gonna put this as looks cool, might build. I think this would make a very cool deck. Probably one of the cooler cards in the entire set is Avatar Aang. This is I think this was one of the first cards we saw, actually. This is a red, green, white, and blue. Again, human avatar ally. This one is the mythic. It is a flying firebending 2 4/4. Do I have the text to firebending? Not right now. I believe it's whenever you attack, you make 2 red mana, and then that mana stays until the end of combat or something like that. I'm sure it will come up later. So the second ability is whenever you waterbend, earthbend, firebend, or airbend, you draw a card. So it's a card advantage card, and then if you've done all 4 this turn, you get to transform Avatar Aang, which probably is pretty hard. Your deck's going to be getting built around the bending strategies and stuff like that. This is a thing where like some of the goes on the 99 cards like this, they might go in here to try to help with the airbending. And then Aang, Master of the Elements, is the other side. So this is actually a 5 color deck because of the second ability, but this is a flying 6/6, and spells you cast cost Wooburg less to cast. So the black symbol being on the backside gives it a black color identity. At the beginning of each upkeep, you may transform Aang, Master of Elements. If you do, you gain 4 life, draw 4 cards, put 4 +1/+1 counters on him, and he deals 4 damage to each opponent. So yeah, just basically like a big impact to transform him and then try to do it again. Or you could just have all kinds of Wooburg discounts on all your cards. This is definitely a cool card. Um, hmm. I'm not a super huge fan with the a lot of the bending abilities Earthbending looks really strong. Firebending looks pretty cool. Uh, Airbending is just kind of like a variation of Flicker, which isn't bad, but it's just kind of is what it is. Waterbending I kind of don't like because of the fact of taking mana from artifacts. I kind of there's probably another video in this for me to rant and rave about, but I don't like it. I think it's a little bit like not in the right flavor because they don't draw it from artifacts. I think it's supposed to be that they're drawing water from like if they're holding like bags or anything like that. Like waterbenders carry their water on them, blah blah blah. The creature thing I get because of bloodbending, but the artifact thing I think is just a bit of a stretch. So I don't personally think that I would build this one. I think you're going to see a lot of these in the wild and a lot of people trying to do all four. I'm sure there's probably some silly way of getting to have all the bendings in a turn pretty consistently. Otherwise, I mean, you're just trying to do it. And then, I mean, he's a card engine, right? Or card draw engine, right? So he's definitely very interesting. I'm gonna put him in the looks cool might build. Personally, again, I don't think I am gonna build him, but I can definitely see people building him. You're probably gonna see him at your tables, at your LGSs, somewhere down the line. And we are out of our Angs and Appas and into our Azulas. This is Azula Cunning Usurper. This is a, despite the fact that you do see red, this is a Demir card. It's 2 blue, black, black for a human noble rogue. This is a rare. It's a 4/4 with firebending 2. So there we go. There's a firebending text. Whenever this creature attacks, add red, red. This mana lasts until the end of combat. So I was correct in what I said. I was pretty confident, but I wasn't 100% sure. The reason why this is not a Grixis color identity is because the red mana symbol is in the italics text, which is like reminder text, so it doesn't actually affect the color identity. It's the same reason why you could play white or, I mean, extort cards in white or black, depending on if the card itself is black or white. Like, I think what is it? Crypt Gas is in a lot of mono black decks because it gives swamps the ability to tap for extra mana, but it has extort. But the white black mana symbol is in that that reminder rules text or whatever we call it, and therefore doesn't count color identity. It's not a white black card. All right, second ability is when Azula enters, target opponent exiles a non-token creature they control, then they exile a non-land card from their graveyard. During your turn, you may cast cards exiled with Azula, and you may cast them as though they had flash mana of any type can be spent to cast those spells. So, interesting. So it's not really a Dimir mill deck. It's a Dimir exile from graveyard. So you're gonna have a little bit of exile in the fact that you want stuff in the graveyard, and then it's kind of political too, which is funny because she's the princess and everything, and she's kind of a political manipulator and everything like that in the show. So it's political in the sense of like if the board needs an answer and somebody has an answer in their graveyard or on the battlefield with like an enters effects or like it's locked down or something, you'd be like, hey, I have Azula, you can get rid of it, and then I'll take it, and we'll get around the problem and provide the answer. And then it's 4/4. It's got firebending. I really like that last line of text that mana of any type can be spent to cast those spells. So you don't have to worry about like, oh, it's a whiteboard wipe or it's a, it's a, well, you don't have to worry about red mana because you can make the red mana from Azula, uh, or like some kind of a green like removal spell. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like you don't have to worry about not having the right color of mana in order to do what you want to do. I'm a sucker for Dimir things. I started out as a Dimir player back when I got back into Magic in Return to Ravnica. So I could see myself building this very easily. I could see this getting slotted into the 99 of a couple of my decks too, that just are already milling. But let's have Azula. Azula, evil. We'll put her as the first card that I would definitely be building. I definitely could see myself building this deck. And then we're going to roll right into another Azula. This is Azula on the Hunt for 3 and a black. This is an uncommon human nobile. Nope, nobile. This is an uncommon human noble. She's a 4/3. She once again has firebending too, which is kind of funny to see that consistency. However, again, because of the reminder text and the italics, this is a mono black commander. And whenever she attacks, you lose 1 life and create a clue token. Clues obviously being artifacts that you have 2, you sacrifice, you draw a card. Whenever she attacks, you get a clue, firebending. So it's kind of funny too, because she has just enough mana in her firebending to crack the clue. So that's really fun. I could definitely, if I still had Barakdos, which is my Barakos and Guild Artisan deck, this would be an easy thing where it's just another way of making like clues or treasures or whatever. Uh, it cared about artifacts entering and then being sacrificed or leaving the battlefield, and then that mana would be good for food tokens or clue tokens. So that's pretty cool. I think blood tokens require 1 mana, so that's interesting. I almost kind of want to see like an Azula vampire deck where you're making blood tokens to like, because what do? They let you draw and discard. I think they loot. So you kind of like loot through your deck and maybe there's like a reanimator strategy in there or something like that. So it's definitely a cool build. For an uncommon too. Like I feel like it's a well put together thing. Doesn't really rely on anything else. It's card advantage. The loss of 1 life is kind of whatever. You're in mono black. You're probably paying life for other things. Um, the firebending just for I really want to see firebending. To me kind of reminds me of one of the original Radas where like whenever she attacks you make like 2 hybrid Gruul mana or something like that, and then you have to figure out what to do with that mana so that when you go from attacks to blocks, right, like you could use the mana for something. So I like that like mental puzzle that you have to figure out kind of what to do. I don't know that I would 100% build this, but I could see myself. So I'm definitely gonna put this in the looks cool might build because I could see this being a pretty interesting build if nothing else. Mono black clues and artifacts and stuff like that, or just mono black whatever, and you're just using the clues a little bit as again a little bit of card advantage. So I like that. I definitely could build this, but it's not like it's not calling to me. I don't have to build this, but it might be interesting. And that was our only 2 Azulas for right now. And we're going to go into Boomy, King of 3 Trials. This is 5 and a green, a human noble ally for is an uncommon. It's a 4/4, and when it enters, choose up to X, where X is the number of lesson cards in your graveyard. There's 3 options. You could put 3+1/+1 counters on Boomy. You could have target player scry 3. That's kind of interesting. Or you could Earthbend 3 again, making a land basically into a 3/3 that doesn't necessarily die. It would just kind of come back if it dies. By itself, because it's just an enter the battlefield effect, I don't necessarily see this being a crazy like sought after commander. I think Boomy's always gonna have fans in the sense of like he was a cool character, so you're gonna see Boomy decks in general. I don't necessarily know that you're gonna see lots of this one. Again, I need to know how many lessons because if there's only really 1 lesson or 2 lessons in green, something like that, it's very limited then, and you have to find a way to get all the lessons that you can into your graveyard, at least 3, right? And then you're kind of potentially screwed if somebody brings Grave Hate and just gets rid of your lessons because then your commander doesn't do anything. I think that's another thing that is off to me is that like if you don't have lessons, you just don't play your commander because it doesn't do anything at all. It's just a 6 mana 4/4. So definitely a little iffy. I think when you do have all 3 lessons in there and you're able to do all 3 things, I mean, there's a lot to do. There's a lot to play with here. +1/+1 counters and proliferate galore with both the first and the last ability, the earthbending thing. Then you just have to have a little bit of bounce stuff, which I mean, I could think of like you have doubling season in there for more counters. You have Conjurer's Closet. What else? Because it's mono green. I don't really know what else you could necessarily do to constantly like pick this thing up and put it back down. Outside of like playing with your own graveyard and sacrificing it and bringing it back. But even in mono green, like it's not impossible, but it's more limited than if you were like Ingolgari or something to that effect. Uh, I'm gonna say it's interesting, but not for me. I think it's just too limited by the lesson thing. And I don't think, again, I don't see this being the Boomy that everyone's gonna be super excited about it. There's probably at least 1 or 2 other Boomies I think in the set total, plus also the Eternal ones. I think I saw like a Boomy or 2 in there, and I think there are probably just cooler ones than this one. Speaking of the fact that there are other Boomies who are potentially cooler, I don't know what this one does, so I have no idea what I'm talking about. This is Boomy Unleashed for 3 red and a green. Human noble ally. Noble, not noble, not nobile. This one's a mythic rare. It is a 5/4 with trample. When it enters, Earthbend 4. So again, you're gonna have the same kind of thing of the original or the other Boomy, where like needing to figure out ways to pick this thing up, put him down, pick him up, put him down. Whenever Boomy deals combat damage to a player, untap all lands you control after this phase. There's an additional combat phase. Only land creatures can attack during that combat phase. That's pretty simple. It's pretty straightforward, but I think that's sometimes the strength of a deck is that it's just kind of straightforward. You're in mono red, so you're gonna have like God, Berserker's Strength or whatever, Berserker's Fury, the enchantment where all your attacking creatures have like double strike. You're gonna have other ways of amplifying your damage with like uh, deals twice as much damage or whatever effects. Again, you're gonna have the +1/+1 counters and proliferate things. So this one I think is definitely a little bit cooler. Um, and then just how do you get the most amount of lands? Oh, I just had a card in my head that popped up when I was talking about like how this is gonna be another one where you have to enter the it has to enter the battlefield. It's gonna be that card where every time that you play like or bring a permanent down, you could bounce another permanent back to your hand of the same type. Curio something, I wanna say. I don't know. I'll find it after the video and I'll put up on the screen so you know what I'm talking about. But that would be another way to constantly like bounce this over and over again. You're gonna be playing with lots of lands anyway because it's an earthbending card. So paying 5 mana over and over again probably isn't too big of a deal. And just in general, I do think that that's. I think this one's way cooler than the other one. I also think red also. I don't know if I said this already, but red has extra combat phases already. So you're like Morag, the Minotaur. Whenever a land enters the battlefield, you get an extra combat step essentially. Like, come on, like like you're gonna be doing land things. Like, it's just gonna be a landfall dot deck with probably as many bounce lands as you can find, or like ways to play your fetch lands from your graveyard so that you could bring it in, fetch it, even if you run out of basic lands, and you just keep kind of cycling. So this one's definitely cool. Do I want to build this though? Landfall. Do I have a landfall deck right now? I do. I do. I have Gladiolus. Um, doesn't necessarily fit in Gladiolus because I do not care as much about uh entering the battlefield style effects. I do think I have like a Panharmonicon or something like that in there because when he enters, he searches for any land. So there's something there. He definitely might go in the 99, but I think he's kind of his own deck. I don't think he's a Gladiolus deck. Gladiolus Amasita, which again I can put on the screen so people can know what I'm talking about. I don't know. I think he's his own deck. I think he's his own deck. And because I already do have a land deck, I'm not gonna immediately put like, oh, I have to build this. I am gonna put looks cool in my build, just because again, like, if I had to say anything, I would say that I'd put this toward the beginning. Like, if towards the colors is like, I would like to build these more. I definitely think I would go where this Boomy, the Azorius Ang, the Mono Red Azula, then the Appa, and then the Bantang, I believe. No, that's Bantang. So this is the 5-color Ang. Yeah, yeah, that's how I would do it. And then Azula from this first set of like 10 cards is the only one that I would 100% want to build. Interesting, interesting. But yeah, there you go. That's the first 10 out of, I believe, 65. Is all your A's and B's the next time. I don't know if it'll be a legit 10 cards per part or how we're going to do this. Because I do want to cut these kind of short because that just works better for YouTube. But again, remember, if you have your own thoughts, feel free to let me know down in the comments below. Like and subscribe. I will start putting my Mox Field and my Blue Sky and my Discord link in the comment description just so that you guys can see all those. Make sure you follow me over on Mox Field. I am trying to kind of use that a little bit more as like a way of like showing off my decks and stuff. Like, I've always used it to store my decks, but now I'm trying to show them off more like on Blue Sky or Discord or what have you. The Discord, if you want a cool place to talk to people about Magic the Gathering and all kinds of other nerd stuff, feel free to join. Just remember to be cool in the community. That's all I ask for is be cool and respectful. And until next time, that's all I got out on the Seth Cross, and this was ranking the first 10 commanders of the Avatar: The Last Airbender set. Thanks. Peace.